Story 1. The ride that never should have happened. It was 2014. I used Uber a lot back then, mainly because I was stuck without a license for a year after a DUI. Dumb choice, I know. There was this nightclub in my town where my friends and I would often blow off steam on weekends. Sometimes we had a designated driver. Sometimes we relied on Uber. That night, I wasn't feeling too hot, not drunk, just off. Something didn't sit right. Around 1:30 in the morning, I decided to head out early. The chill in the air was brutal, and walking home was out of the question. So I opened my phone and requested a ride. A nearby driver named Alex accepted the request. His profile pic gave me the creeps, an older man with a stony face, a gray goatee, and a black beanie that clung to his head like it hadn't been washed in weeks. But he was just 2 miles away, and his car, a Chevy Malibu, didn't sound too bad. I figured I'd be fine. 5 minutes later, a battered silver Malibu looked early 2000s pulled up to the curb outside the club. The car wheezed more than it roared. No honk, no wave, no eye contact. The guy just sat there. I hesitated, glanced at the silent bouncer standing nearby, then climbed into the back seat. Something shifted the moment I shut the door. He didn't say hello, didn't acknowledge me, just stared forward and murmured, "Where to?" I gave him my address. We started down Main Street, but in the opposite direction of my house. I pointed it out. He took the next left without a word, leading us into dimly lit residential streets. He never touched his phone. No GPS, nothing. I started to feel that nauseating pinch of fear in my stomach. Maybe he expected me to give directions. I pulled out my own phone and loaded my address into Google Maps. When the GPS instructed him to turn left, he blew right past it. I motioned in confusion. He finally spoke again. "Just need to make a quick stop," he said flatly. "I'll knock some money off." Even drunk, I knew something was seriously wrong. That's when I noticed it, the gleam of cold metal. A handgun sticking out of the center console next to him. My heart stopped. I reached for the door handle in slow motion, trying not to make a sound. Nothing. It didn't budge. Child lock. The car kept moving deeper into unfamiliar territory. I think we had crossed into another town. I didn't dare call 911. What if he heard me? Then a thought struck me. If I could just get behind him, maybe I could reach the child lock controls up front. I had to slide across the seat, silently. One wrong move, and he might use that gun. I kept my eyes locked on him through the rearview mirror. Slowly, painfully slowly, I slid behind his seat. He didn't notice, or at least, I hoped he didn't. Then came the hardest part, waiting for a red light. Every intersection that stayed green tightened the noose in my chest. Finally, a yellow light flickered ahead. The car slowed to a stop at a deserted intersection. There was another car on the opposite side, some comfort, at least. I reached. My hand crept up toward the child lock button. Just as I touched it, he jolted in his seat. He screamed and lunged toward the gun. I ripped the door open and bolted. I sprinted toward the SUV, stopped across from us, a black Escalade. I banged on the window, screaming. They drove off. I was alone, but the Malibu was already peeling away into the night. I ran into a 24-hour grocery store nearby and called for a taxi. Somehow, in that store, everything came crashing down: the fear, the cold, the pounding adrenaline. I wasn't even drunk anymore, just shaken to the core. I reported the driver to Uber. They claimed they'd escalated to law enforcement. A week passed before a single officer knocked on my door. After that, nothing. I never found out who that man really was, but I've never used Uber again. Story 2, the man with no destination. As a former Uber driver, I've seen all kinds of people. Sloppy drunks, loud friend groups, scam artists pretending to be disabled. But every once in a while, you pick up someone different, someone off. The worst I ever had. A guy named Tom. It was a freezing Friday night in December. I was 18, barely 120 pounds, soaking wet. My parents had spoiled me with a shiny new Honda Accord. I had nothing better to do, so I opened the Uber app and started picking up rides. My dad always warned me, keep a blade in the car, just in case. Tom's request came from a shopping plaza a few miles away. I drove out there, hoping it wasn't one of the rowdy teens loitering out front. They looked like trouble. Trying to avoid them, I looped the parking lot twice, then spotted a man approaching my car in the mirror. I rolled down the window and called Tom. "Yes," he muttered. I told him to hop in. Once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th, he finally understood and slipped into the seat directly behind me, which already made my skin crawl. Most riders sat diagonally, sitting right behind me. I don't know, it just felt too vulnerable. He was older, mid to late 40s maybe. Smelled like cigarettes. Voice like sandpaper. When I asked for his destination, he gave me an address 10 miles out. Not bad. The money would be decent. I tried to make small talk. He gave one-word answers, or just mumbled. Eventually, he said nothing at all. At mile 6, I started to feel that presence. I was afraid to look in the mirror, but I had to. He was staring, eyes wide, unblinking. I pressed harder on the gas. By mile 8, we were driving through darkness, nothing but trees on both sides. The address on my GPS, it ended at a dead-end road. No nearby intersections. No houses marked. My gut twisted. He was still staring. I asked, "Is this your home address?" He waited, then slowly said, "Yes." Less than a mile left. Still no sign of civilization. Just dark, silent woods and occasional hollow buildings that looked long abandoned. We reached the street. It was pitch black. I could barely see the road itself. I pretended to miss the turn, kept driving, but he snapped. "Turn around," he shouted. "You missed it." I muttered an apology, hard hammering, and turned around. While shifting the car, I reached into the seat pocket where I kept my knife, opened it, held it tight. We turned down the dead-end street. My headlights illuminated. Nothing. Just trees. No houses. No lights. No life. He finally spoke again. "Thanks for the ride," he said, voice calm. Then he added, "Can you get out for a second? I need help with my bag. Bad back." He had no bag. None. I played along. "Sure, hop out. I'll help you in a sec." My voice trembled. Then before I could react, his arms wrapped around my throat from behind. He was choking me. Pure instinct took over. I jammed a blade into his arm. He screamed and flung himself backward out of the car. I didn't wait. I gunned it, speeding away from that street like my life depended on it because it did. I never called the cops. I don't know why. I was too scared, too ashamed. I drove home, locked every door, and quit Uber for good.